me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts obsession, I will not stop, no I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex, haters love to hate but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
I don't know how to stop, I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me, put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grave 6 feet like Kenny.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Ray De Niro. Less a few inches of hair. Summertime. And we're back at it again for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. Before we get into that, let me first thank the sponsor of the show on the platform. Down in the description, you will see a referral link. I do not get anything from that besides a thank you from Delta Investment Tracker app, but I'm using it for so much stuff that I got to take a moment every episode to give them a shout out for sponsoring me, sponsoring the platform, and allowing me to use their pro features to test out the software, see how I like it. I love it, and I use it actively. Especially during this last Bitcoin pump. It was crazy because CoinGecko completely glitched out and was giving completely different numbers, but Delta Investment Tracker app was giving me the live feed, so I've actually shifted over. There's a couple of specific very degen coins that are not on Delta Investment Tracker app that are in CoinGecko, but I need for my sanity and for my peace of mind to know the latest price when I look into an app. So kudos to them for that. That is a pro feature, the live updates. Now we're going to go ahead and get into the crux of the show. Now I am adamant that I'm not really a big beginner content person, but there's so much bad advice out there. So much dated boomer advice out there. So much, not necessarily bad, but setting you up to have to work till you're 60 advice out there. Inefficient, ineffective under the current market. And when I'm asked a question, I have to ponder on it. And I've got one of my coworkers asked me a question. He's a young cat, real young, just starting out the gate, got his whole future ahead of him. Kind of making some knucklehead decisions that I don't agree with, but he asked me about helping him get his finances sorted out, and he's starting out. And I don't normally go down to that level anymore. I really don't pontificate or think down on that level. I'm well past that. Like it's one of those things where like I'm not at the mountaintop yet, but I'm far enough away from the starting line to where looking at the starting line isn't one of the things I normally do. But he asked me, and I'm going to help him, gosh darn it, which got me pontificating and got me thinking about how I would do it if I were to start over. And I've broken this down into 4 phases. And these 4 phases are going to be what I would do if I was in my 20s, just getting into my first real big kid job, just getting some money, trying to get myself established. What would I do? How would I start? So we're starting from zero. So this is actually going to be geared towards the beginner. If you're starting over financially from zero, if you're this is mainly going to be for the young kids, just getting out there, getting your first job, somewhere between, I'd say, anywhere from 16. I mean, most of you aren't getting jobs till after college, so I would say all the way up to 25 when you're graduating. But getting your first taste of real money, you're trying to get your stuff started, and I'm going to give you what I would do personally. And none of this should be surprising, but I'm going to give you what I would do and why, and we're going to dive into it in detail. And I'm going to give you the context behind it. So let's jump right on into it. I'm going to go ahead and start with phase 1. So this is the first thing that I would set up. Now, being that you're just starting out, you've got $0. I'm also assuming that you have 0 reoccurring bills that you would need to pay with bill pay. With that said, I don't believe, like me being a financial anarchist, like we're using all the tools over here. It's Future Financial Strategies. But for a home base for somebody just starting out, going to bring it to the screen. My recommendation, and I do have a referral for this app down in the description. I would start out with setting up a CashApp. You can get your checks direct deposited there. And the reason for this, and this is the reason that I prefer CashApp over any of the other, because like normally you've got Venmo, you've got PayPal. I prefer CashApp, and I prefer it for a specific reason. CashApp in and of itself, with the exception of it not having bill pay, is actually a financial tool for those who are looking to get a little taste of everything. Now, is it in depth? Absolutely not. But within CashApp, you can save. And if you have a direct deposit going there, you actually get a little bit of interest on the savings over there. You can save over there. You have a cash account with a debit card. So you have access to get your money out, get cash when you need it. It has the ability for you to invest in stocks and also invest with fractional shares. So if you can't afford an entire share of a stock, you can accumulate with small amounts. Now, again, we're starting from 0. So you might not have hundreds of dollars a month to save up. You might not. So starting with CashApp, you get a little taste of everything. You also have access to purchase Bitcoin. Again, easy segue into these markets. Easy. You also have access to a loan system. Again, we use all the tools. Now, this is a safe loan system. Like, if all your money's getting deposited over there, we've already gone through the CashApp loan play, and we have a video specifically dedicated to that as one of the future financial strategies. And what do we use it for? We did not use it to get extra guac. We did not use it to buy rims. We are using it to acquire additional assets. Now, moving forward, we also will be using it to consolidate down some of the float debt as well. But there's going to be a context, and we're going to do a whole episode about that as we're making some pivots, we're making some shifts in how we're investing and how we're clearing out debt, because now I'm getting back to a space where I want to have little to no debt. So we're bringing the float down. We're a little bit overextended. We're getting that down to about, I'd say, maybe $2,000, maybe a little bit less. We might clear it out. It depends on whether the winds are at our backs or not. But we'll see. But you have access to so many tools with CashApp. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife. And if I were just starting out, I would actually start having all of my money go there, because you have access to do so much stuff, so many things with it. So that's phase 1. Now, how long are we going to be hanging around CashApp? This goes to my recommendation for allotment amounts. Now, I tell everybody starting off, if you're just starting off, I'm not going to tell you to. Now, as these phases go, we're going to escalate. So this will work out. And actually, I'm gonna have to break out the pen and pad as we're putting these numbers down so we can do some final math at the end. But when we're talking about the Cash App, I'm writing it down now. The Cash App, you should have a set amount of what broke is. And I always tell people, I'm like, what is broke for you? That's the first thing I ask them when they're starting out. And a lot of people, broke for them is they'll say $0. I'm like, well, that means you likely run your account down to $0 damn near, right? An emergency comes up and now you're negative, you have no money. Right? Yeah. So that is not a scenario that we want to be in ever. So if I were just starting out, you don't have many bills, you might be paying rent, you might catch some utilities, it's going into a pool. $0 for you. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, you got to save up $2,000. I'm just starting out. We're just phase one. But while we're in phase one, you've got your Cash App, you're setting your Cash App up. What you should have that savings feature turned on. You should be saving some of every check. Now, I'm not even going to tell you to start invest. I'd put the bare minimum in the investing. Like if you got some extra money, I would throw it into that investment account. I would just get one of the ETFs that's tied to the market, VOO, VTI, QQQ, something. QQQ if you're aggressive. If you're just trying to protect wealth, VTO, VOO, VTI, any of the ones that are pegged to the S&P 500 ETFs. I'd put a little bit of money in there. That's where you can put all your extra. But the core thing that you're going to do is you're likely going to have a car. Hopefully you don't have a car payment. If you're like 15, 16 or 16 to 20 and you have a car payment, that's going to be rough, especially with how much car payments are right now. But your savings account, I would have enough money to buy a nice new set of tires. That's your savings goal. It's probably going to be about, I'd say $500-600, like $500. And that's a goal. So like every check you're cutting out of there, your zero balance, your zero account, and that's going to be $0. You can't spend that unless you have an emergency. It's an emergency fund, car emergency fund, because you're not hopefully having life emergencies at this young. $0 for your checking account. This is on your debit card, what you're actually using. Like it's not a checking account. It's just a charge account. But $0 on that account is $100. You get down to $100, you cannot spend any more money. That's phase one. You get that set up. Once you've got your $500 emergency and you can consistently keep $100 in your account without drawing down past $100, which means you're paying something off, anything, your balance stops at $100. You are at $0 at $100. There's a reason for this. And the reason I say that is it keeps you from overdrawing. You shouldn't be out just willy-nilly running up the bag, blowing all your money down to $0. It also puts you in a space to where if you have a random errant bill, you have a built-in safety net of $100 that you can sort something out with. But this is going to also force you to start thinking ahead. It's also going to force you while you're saving up that $500, because I'm not saying lump sum, throw $500 in there, but should you do that, then you can, as you breeze through these phases, but this has to be consistent. So I would say you got to be able to sustain this for at least 3 months easily. You look in there, you're never dropping below the $100 on the charge card as a bare minimum, and you've got your $500 for a set of tires, for a decent set of tires. You can replace your tires. That's going to put in your Cash App. That means you're sitting at a balance of $600. Now, once you are at that level, Now we can move on to phase 2. Now, what's phase 2, you ask? Phase 2 is going to be your big kid banking. Now, the reason you're going to need this is as you're going into adulthood, because phase 1 should be pretty straightforward. It's not going to take you very long to do this. It shouldn't. Like, it shouldn't be a year-long endeavor to get to $600. Like, if you can't set aside $600 and have that be zero, that's broke to you, you've got some issues. You need to assess what you are doing with your money. Because that means you're literally living hand to mouth. And you're burning up every dollar that comes in. That's not a good place to be in, and you need to get it fixed. But once we move from phase 1 to phase 2, that doesn't mean you do away with your Cash App, because there's still going to be utility there, namely the Bitcoin and the loans that you can do there. Because the other thing that before we go ahead and completely move on to phase 2, the other thing that it's going to give you the ability to use those loans. Now, those loans, if you're going to utilize that as a tool, I would reference the Future Financial Strategies video where we go over the Cash App play. And I will go look that video up, and I will have it down in the description on this video under the news section, so that I'm just going to add a reference section, and we'll have reference and news. It'll be reference/news. I might just edit the section. So that way you guys can go back and look through that and show how we use it. But do not use those cash advances to buy stuff. Assets only. At this phase in the game, the only thing that I would be using it for is the only thing I would use it for is to buy stocks. That's literally the only thing I would do. I would get your VOO set up, because the way that works is it breaks it up. So you could borrow $50 and pay it back in 4 payments. It's going to charge you an extra 6%, but like you can break it up into a couple of very indiscriminate payments and front run your investment portfolio. You could do that, provided you're disciplined enough to pay it back. That is the key here, is you're going to learn discipline to pay back a loan. And it only starts off giving you like $25 or $50. If you can't pay back $25 or $50 in 4 payments, you have a problem. If you can't budget that out. I mean, when I was borrowing the $25, I just paid it back the next paycheck, and I was just fronting myself money from the next paycheck. Now, full bore on phase 2. Now, what do we have going on phase 2? So you probably got a little bit of money in your stocks. You might have a little bit of Bitcoin. Not going to fault nobody for buying that. You've used some of the products. There's a little bit of money floating around there. Hopefully you're making a little forward progress and they're feeling good about yourself. You've got your savings stacked with $500 just in case you got to buy a set of tires, which would cover most of any major carb repair. And you got a minimum balance on the charge card of $100 at all times. That's your cushion, which means that you most likely have over $100. But at minimum, we're going to say bare minimum. If you just do the bare minimum to get through phase 1, you have $600 in your Cash App now. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go find ourselves a big boy bank. We're going to an adult bank. I'm not going to say big boy bank. It's an adult bank. I prefer Cash App over banks. They don't have bill pay, so I can't send all my money there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a reference point of checking out bankrate.com. You can go see what they're offering from high yield savings. We can look at the checking accounts. They got interest on the checking accounts. Now, me personally, what I normally look at is local banks. And the reason I'm at local banks now, we tried to do the thing with Citibank and we had the brokerage account set up over there and they made me mad. So we had to fire them from all their banking products. Like, we're just done. I don't like them. I got burnt by it. I was trying to get a banking relationship to get into some private banking, and I'm thinking I won't even need to do that at this point. Like, I'm just gonna put myself in a position where I don't have to ask. I'm just gonna, like, we're gonna set ourselves up to where we can self-fund for the most part for most things, and we're gonna navigate that way. In the future, we might do something with Charles Schwab. That's going to be another option for me as we're building that portfolio out, because it's gonna get hefty. And they're gonna want to talk to old Ray Bear. I've already got plans for it because we're working on the traditional portfolio to catch up with the crypto portfolio. It probably never will, but it's going to get big. But you need to pick a bank. Now, me personally, like, you can go to bankrate.com. They'll give you savings and money market accounts, checking, and CDs. So, like, right now we're just looking at checking and savings and money market. That's all we need. And you're going to pick a bank. Now, you could pick a bank up the street. I'd check to make sure they're not going to murder you with fees. Usually, if there are credit unions available, that's going to be your best bet. It's easier to get loans through them. They're better to work with, in my opinion. That's the gist of it. So what the bank that I personally like is Community America. Shout out, Community America Bank. That's a local bank here for me. They have enough branches to where I can get to them. They're not the most convenient because they're not the closest, and I don't go by them all the time. We also are starting to have Chase Banks, which does have private banking access. But in order for me to have a private banking relationship, I don't keep a lot of money in the bank. It was going to be based off my brokerage account, and I don't want another institution getting in the way of me and what I'm trying to do with my money. So the core of, actually, you know what? That Citibank account might come back into play at some point, just based on the fact that I don't want to, I've got to segregate my brokerage accounts. So my buy and hold long-term stuff, I probably will keep over in that account because it will not consist of any products that are touching the cryptocurrency space. So it can be used for that. And so since it's already set up, we might just keep it over there for that purpose exclusively. But that's going to be floating around doing nothing for a very long time because I have nothing going on over there right now. And until I get my primary portfolio set up, there's no reason for me to have anything going over there because I haven't finished the current mission that I'm on. And that mission is going to be a pretty long-term mission as well. But still, I digress. But I do like Community America. I've had an account with them for a long time. It's a credit union. And, credit union is supposed to be for the little guy. We're not planning on being the little guy for forever, but they're easy to work with. It's easy to get money transferred in and out. I can move money around as I see fit. They don't block transactions that are crypto related. If I'm moving money to an exchange, bringing money off of an exchange, never a problem. So kudos to them. I do like that. Now, the way that I have these checking accounts set up, phase 2, is kind of the crux of the deal. And the reason you need an actual bank account is basically, in my opinion, for bill pay. But Community America does this really useful thing where it's useful for me. I have my checking account broken into 3 accounts. So there's like a general savings from when did I get that? I forgot what I got from Community America. It's probably a loan or something, but they have like a starter thing. Like if you get any type of credit from them or a loan, you have it's like an account that they have to tie to the bank. It's just a general basic savings, not a high yield savings, nothing special, just a savings account, just extra account. So that's 1. And then I have a high yield savings, which is 2. And then I have my checking account, which is 3. So I have that broken up into 3 things. So obviously the checking account, straight up just for bills. The zero balance on the checking account for me is $100. Then I have my high yield savings account, which is where I keep the cash portion of my opportunity fund. It's also the account that I have linked to my brokerage account. So all my brokerage transfers go out of that account. My third account So that literally is for opportunity. That is cash to be deployed for an investment purpose of some sort. So the money will normally land back there if I'm doing a loan, if I'm doing any type of stuff, if it's going money transferred out of my account going to my brokerage, it's coming out of that high yield savings account. The cash balance portion of my opportunity fund is the zero balance in that account. So there's always some money in there. I normally keep it pretty slim. Like right now, the cash balance for my opportunity fund, which for me, the opportunity fund game is I'm constantly saving up $10,000 to deploy for an investment. Now I've scaled this up. If I were just starting out, the opportunity fund would be somewhere between $500 and $1,000. Now, $500 will get you a full share of most of the ETFs that you'll be going into. It'll get your feet wet. If it needs to be a little bit higher, if you're buying higher dollar stocks, because like $500 normally you can get a full share of an S&P 500 ETF. If you're looking at dividend stocks, that's going to get you a few shares of a few things. But by this point, you should have a consistent amount of money that should be hashed out that's going into investments. There should be a little piece that goes to savings to build up the savings, but you should have some money going to an investment, to investments at this point in the game. Like you should be trying to, and I'd say if I was just starting out, I would be trying to save $100 a month, and I would be trying to have $100 a month going into investments, whatever that is. Now you can split that up 50-50, get some Bitcoin, 90-10. $10 goes to Bitcoin, $90 goes into investments, but you should be consistently doing this by this point in the game. Next, the next thing that we have is our last cash pool, which is our in-home banking cash pool. Now, if you should be through the phase. You've gotten a few CashApp loans of the cash advances. You paid them back. Now, if you watch the CashApp play, even though they're charging 6%, and I'd say when I started, I think it was like 3 or 4%. So it's based on the interest rates, but like right now it's probably about 6%. I always pay back 10% and put a little bit in the cash pool so that I can build up this third savings account, because I also borrow money for myself. Now that third account is what I call my in-home banking cash pool. It's a cash pool where if I pull that money out, I pay it back plus 10%. And it's normally what I use for toys and indiscriminate stuff. Like if it's a high dollar purchase, I fund all sorts of things, tools, stuff for this channel, different camera equipment, upgrades. We'll be getting a microphone here eventually. Right now we're in debt consolidation, so we're using that cash pool for that because I can convert that in to debt for me and pay myself back. And, we've been doing this. I think we started off with like maybe $100, $200 in there, and we've scaled it up. And as we've been utilizing it for stuff for me, for myself, and paying it back 10%, we're currently above $800 and climbing, because like now we're getting active with it again. And as we're machine gunning through this debt, that's going to be tapped quite a few times. And at 10% a clip, paid back to myself. Again, you got to be financially responsible, and you have to understand how money works to do this effectively, or to actually do it, because a lot of people try to cheat. If you cheat, you're just not gonna have money. Like, it's just what it is. That won't be an effective tool for you, and maybe it's not. Then you could use this account for something else. But this is how I break it down. So what are we looking at here? So this is the banking phase of it. So obviously, again, minimum balance on the checking account is going to be $100. And then moving on to the opportunity fund. Now that we're going to say, this is a good question. So the opportunity fund doesn't have to have a minimum balance in it, as long as you're putting the opportunity / investment, because like it's basically the same pool of money for me. Where I'm at right now in my life with my current financial situation is a chunk of that money that goes towards investing. Like I have a chunk of money that's hashed out specifically for investing every month. that just goes in. It either is going into crypto. Right now, it is actually getting direct deposited straight over to CashApp because I was exclusively going into crypto. Now that we're shifting over to the traditional portfolio, we might, well, I'm just going to transfer it out. I like having the money direct deposited over to CashApp. I get it a day early. But we're moving that around, and we're going to have it going over to CashApp. I'm going to have to transfer it back, this is extra work for myself. But since I'm waiting to move on that property now that we've hit the marker for the opportunity fund, I'm always going to have a pool of money that's already in that second savings account to shoot over the brokerage account. So this won't affect me. I'll just be waiting for the money to replace it to get to my bank, which is fine. I'm fine with that. But I have a set amount that's specific for investments. Now it's a minuscule amount right now because we had the bulk of it going towards that opportunity fund. The opportunity fund is always the game for me because I like making big plays. I like to be able to get to that next phase of what that is. And I have scaled this up as my financial situation has changed. And instead of buying more stuff, going on trips, buying Gucci belts, buying rims, I scale up that opportunity fund money. And then I scale up the game. So the next leg up, depending on once we get the dividend portfolioing, which we are very close to getting that snowball on a downward descent down the hill, we're going to scale that up. So the next phase up for me might be $15,000 will be the game. Or I might just keep it at 10 and just hit the 10 faster and then be like, cool, 10, move, 10, move. Like we could also look into paying off some property faster. Like that's also an option. But the gist of it is we're trying to get as much into that versus things. So we have $100 minimum on that account. Now your in-home banking, you should start that off. That account, even if you don't use it, that third account, you should have $100 in there. So we're going to say at minimum, you've got $100 in the checking and $100 in the in-home banking savings. So that would put us at $200 on the banking account. Now, we're going to phase 3. Now, phase 3 is your big kid brokerage. Now, me personally, I use Charles Schwab. I previously used TD Ameritrade. You could also use TD Ameritrade was one. What's the other one? Any of the big ones. It's something comparable to Charles Schwab. There's a few different ones out there that are like legit brokerages. And the reason I say legit brokerages is because they'll have the whole suite of everything on there. Generally speaking, they have a lot of options. If you're into dividends and you want to do set and forget, they've got the drip options. They also have the ability for you to not have them drip, which actually every brokerage account that I've had has had the option to turn that on and off because I like it off personally. I like personally managing those dividends, even when I'm just reinvesting in the same product. But I don't like having to go in and remembering how to turn it off when it's time to switch it up. So I just leave it off. It's just, I also enjoy picking out the shares, seeing how much I've got, pressing buy, having little scraps left over. But this is where you set up that initial account. Now, the initial brokerage account, the big kid brokerage, at this point, depending on how much you have over in your Cash App, I would take those funds, cash them out, and move them over into this fund. And that's going to be your starter bank for this fund because you should have had money flowing in the Cash App, those investments, and the opportunity fund. By this point, that opportunity fund, before you open this up, the opportunity fund should be fully funded. So if you make your bare minimum $500, if you make it $300, you make it $1,000, you make it $2,000. That's when you start moving over into this. Like once you've got that and you go, cool, I'm going to set my account up. I've got $3, $5, $1,000 ready to go over and deploy initially. Like get a few shares, get started. And then you can set up, like now, if you want to fully automate this and and you have a solid budget. My budget is very fluid. I always say that I don't like budgeting. I actually do budget. It's just very fluid. So like my money's moving around and going different places based on what I need to do. Investment wise, because I'm in two different worlds. I'm mostly, I'd say I'm waist deep in the crypto world. I'm ankle deep at this point in the traditional finance world, which is my brokerage. You know, thank goodness, I always tell people, very hard marker to break through is $10,000. And I have finally broken between my active account, my active brokerage, and my Roth. I've finally broke through the $10,000 mark. We peaked over, we got out of the 10,000s, we hit the 11s. And that's a big marker for me. Like that's when stuff starts kind of moving, in my opinion. Like $10,000 is a hard threshold to break through for me, always, and everything that I've done. Like my brokerage account, even the setup that I have now, and it's just because I didn't want to move $10,000 into the brokerage, like actually scaling it out and like investing and reinvesting your dividends and getting your dividends to a point to where you're getting over $100 kicking out and doing all that stuff. It's a process. And if you go monk mode on it and like you just start investing and you actually enjoy it the way that I do, it's interesting. But like getting my traditional portfolio to a point to where it's interesting to me was a long, arduous deal. And like now that we're starting to move stuff around, we've been stacking money, we're getting there. But again, it's about the discipline. It's about the consistency. Now, crypto is way more interesting to me. It's a lot faster pace. I see results faster. So that's where my money goes. Like, it's just like, it's real easy for me to put more money into that market, regardless of what it's doing, than it is for me to go into my traditional portfolio account because it's slower moving. That was until the Bitcoin ETF and the other subsequent Bitcoin products, such as YBTC, we're releasing to the market. Now it's very interesting to me because it's producing income similar to the way I'm able to produce income in the crypto market. Actually, it's not similar. Like right now, because we're getting ready for the bull run and we're not fully set in it yet for altcoins, it's producing as good or better. So now I'm really interested. So like now we're like, hey, we've got enough income going in the crypto space to where it can self-generate and I can move my full attention towards getting stuff going in my traditional portfolio. And so we're making a lot of moves towards that because the more money I put in that portfolio, I'm starting to see results quicker now because we're on that downhill descent. And we want to strike while the iron's hot. We want to get in early because I believe that all the crypto products that are tied to Bitcoin are going to go parabolic during this bull run. It's going to be crazy. And we want to use that to fund the subsequent positions. And we will be doing plenty of videos on that as we start generating more and more of this income from the traditional finance portfolio. Obviously, crypto, once it starts going off, it's going to dwarf this portfolio unbelievably. But the way that I buy is counter the market because once crypto starts running, I mean, technically speaking, nobody's talking about YBTC now, but the energy and the focus is going to be over there because that's where people are going to be winning. I've already been there. I'm already there. Now, once everybody takes their eye off the ball over in the stock market, I want to be putting my money over there. I'm going counter the market. That's the goal here. But you want to set up a real one. I'm not an advocate of the Weebles, like the stuff like that. Hold on a second. Top brokerage firms in the US. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what we got in here. Okay, so yeah. God, I can't believe I couldn't think of this. So the top brokerage firms right now, Fidelity is sitting at number 1. So I can actually do this page first. So Charles Schwab is number 4. That's where I'm at. I love Charles Schwab. JP Morgan Wealth Management is number 2. I would say you're going to want a Fidelity, a Charles Schwab, or an E-Trade. And that's because those are the big dogs. Like the Robinhoods, it's just not the same. Like they're useful if you have, they're useful to an entry-level person, but you should have a full-fledged brokerage. Because there's stuff that you can do as you accumulate wealth with a full-fledged brokerage that you cannot do with a Robinhood. Like with Robinhood, you cannot leverage your stocks. You can't leverage your portfolio. We'll have a whole video on that. I'm just saying, like, long run, when you're rich, you do not want to incur taxes from selling stocks. That's what poor people do. The wealthy leverage their portfolios. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's what they do. I'm not going to question what people who have more money than I can dream of do. I just know if it's effective. I know that it doesn't incur a tax burden. Leverage. It's a wonderful thing. So those are my 3 picks. Obviously, I'm with Charles Schwab, which is number 4. I like Charles Schwab. I have no issues with it. Yeah, I mean, I've had a great experience with them since they bought TD Ameritrade. I also really like TD Ameritrade. Like, it was a good experience. But yeah, so that's phase. What phase are we in? I think we're in phase 3. Yeah, we're phase 3. That's phase 3. Now, phase 3, I'm thinking that you should probably not move out of phase 3 until you have $2,000 in the market. Right? And that's $2,000 in the market working for you. That's hitting your opportunity fund of $500 4 times. And I think you should be able to do that within a year. Like, I mean, it's $2,000 spread out over a year. It's $166 a month, basically. We'll round it up. $167 a month. You get paid twice a month. Most months get paid bi-weekly. It's $83 a check coming out of your check. You should be able to do that. That's not a huge chunk of money unless you're not working enough. That's all I'm saying. So that is phase 3. So now you've got $2,000 there. You've got $200 bare minimum in your actual bank account. And in CashApp, you should have $600. It's $2,800 now that we've phased our way up through. Now, scaling this out is gonna take you probably a year or 2. I would say if you're really dedicated and you're really focused on it and you're really trying and the wind's at your back and you're making good money, you're getting into a position where you're making better money, you're getting more expendable income, and you're not scaling up your expenses with every raise you get. Like, you're good at your job, you get some raises, some healthy raises, or you switch jobs and get a healthy raise. You're also can look at your tax returns, because a lot of you, when you're not making a whole lot of money, you're taking the max tax return. You're getting a little bit of money back on taxes, hopefully, like something, and you're not buying rims. You're not going on a trip. You're actually putting that towards this also. You could probably get all 3 of these phases done in a year, but I'm going to say probably 2.5 years. 2.5 years to get $2,800. I mean, technically speaking, let's just look at this. $2,800 divided by 12. Let's see what that looks like. It's $233 a month. It's 12 months of $233 a month. 2 checks a month divided by 2. That's $116 a check. Say 117, round it up. So you grind, depending on how much you make. It's like, I don't know what anybody's salary is. I mean, apparently everybody, minimum wage is going up, skyrocketing, but so is the price of everything. So you have to factor this in. But this is going to make you make some decisions. It's like, do you want, and I'm not going to say don't drink Starbucks. If you like Starbucks, like that's fine. But I've worked with people who literally ate their entire check because they didn't want to pack a lunch. Like, I now make money and have the money to invest, and I still pack a lunch. Like it helps me it helps me meter what I'm eating. It helps me stay in phenomenal shape. It helps me stay healthy. Also, I don't value going out to eat that much. Like, unless it's like a date night thing and like I'm going with my friends or going to have a good meal with people, like I don't need to go get junk food all day throughout the day, 3 and 4 times a day at $15 to $20 a pop, just cause, so that I can post on Instagram that I'm constantly eating out while having a net worth of negative dollars and being worth not, like, those aren't things that I value. I spend money where I value it. Also, I try not to just blow all my money. Like that's just crazy to me. But getting to $2,800 should be, I think it would be easy during a year, but also I'm not just starting out. But if you live at home and you get free food because you're young, and your parents are letting you be there, this should be able to be done really fast. Like, if you have the privilege of being at home and under your parents' covering, you should be getting every dollar you have should be going towards this first to get yourself established for when you leave that covering, so that you can be prepared, so that you can make the decision. You should be able to walk out of that house with a portfolio that's set up enough to where you can go, if you choose to rent, if you choose to purchase a home, you already have enough income coming in from your portfolio to cover the mortgage or the rent payment. That should be your goal, especially if you have no bills and you live at home. It should be that simple. Like, that should be a goal for you. And also, the $2,800 should come very fast. So then, now we're looking at phase 4. For those of you, like, if you're an adult and you're starting over, while you're getting your budget lined out, I'll give you a year and a half, 2 years. But if you're an adult, the older you are, the faster you need to do this, because you should have more money. And also, if you're an adult, while I do still recommend having a Cash App, you probably already have a banking account, so you might just need to restructure your accounts. But I would still add the Cash App, because you get access to that cash advance money. Because getting money at 6%, especially for somebody like me, especially if you're using it to acquire assets, I high key recommend doing that, because I'm thinking of over this bull run starting to do some interesting stuff with that 650 that I've got it up to now. So I'm actually, now that we're talking about this, I'm thinking of a potential play specifically for the Cash App, and we're just going to run that bag up to get our initial investment to scale out my brokerage account. And I'm thinking of how I can cycle that money now. I got a good idea, and we're going to test it. So salute doing this remedial class, this remedial podcast, this remedial show. For the beginners is helping me. So we might be doing some more beginner stuff. Now, once you've got that, we're at the 2,800. We're going to move on to our final phase. I'm going to try and knock this out quick, because I don't want this video to go over an hour, so that I can premiere it a few other places besides just YouTube, because I'm trying to get this out to as many people as possible. Phase 4 is the credit card. Now, I understand this is going to rub a lot of the gurus the wrong way. It's going to rub a lot of the wealthy gurus on YouTube the wrong way. But as stated, this is Future Financial Strategies. And when we're starting out, we want to use all tools available. I will be doing a video on exactly why I believe credit matters. I've talked about it many times, but I think I'm going to do an actual deep dive into this. But the next thing that you're going to want to add to your arsenal is the credit card. Now, if you are not good with the CashApp cash advance, you should drop out on this part. You should never go to phase 4. You just shouldn't. Like, if you can't handle the CashApp cash advance thing, this is going to be worse. The only reason that I am putting this here is because, again, this is Future Financial Strategies. We are here for the big brains. We're not here for the small brains. I don't make content for those people. The Dave Ramsey cult, the Richard Fain cult, that's not what we're doing over here. We're trying to be as efficient as possible and scale to build as much wealth as possible using all the tools available in the tool belt. That said, I would recommend starting with the Discover card. Reason being, and this is a specific suggestion, the reason being is the Discover card allots a couple of abilities that I really, looking back, has benefited me. My Discover card has my largest balance of available credit. Do I use it all? No. The other thing that my Discover card also does and has done during this time where all the cheap and free money has gone away is they give me checks to cash advance myself at 0%. Now, is it really 0%? No, because there's a fee for using the checks. It's normally 4.5%. But that's still extremely cheap money under the circumstance of where we're currently at with the economy. And you get a 12-month window to pay it back. So does that mean I take all of it out? I cash advance myself all of my money that I have on there? No. Matter of fact, I do the math on it. I'm like, okay, so like what part of the budget, how much can we take out to pay this back in 10 months? I like to have a 2-month cushion to make sure that I don't go outside of that range. I also, generally speaking, have one charge a month that goes on that card to keep it active and current, to keep the account going. And I just pay that back every month, but I budget that payment plan back so that I'm covered in 10 months to make sure that I don't have to worry about rolling into the interest on that card. Which means every 10 months I get a large cash infusion based on my opportunity fund money. And that's where that money comes out of. So I get to front run that money to get the big purchase up front. And then I take a chunk of my opportunity fund money and I pay it back with that. Now, here moving forward, though, we might be in a position to where we might start doing that and paying it back with dividend money. So that way I'm not having to dip into my opportunity fund money or using my opportunity fund money along with the dividend money and then paying it back that way. We're getting into a point where we have some options, but this will help build credit. If you have purchased cars or anything or gotten some purchases in here, that's also going to help build credit. But I would start out, if I was starting from scratch again, I would definitely start out with the Discover card because it's an easier card to get, easier to get into. Now, they have some good perks on there for a daily driver card. Now, while you're not actively traveling everywhere and just building credit, this is a great card. And then as it becomes no longer the daily driver, you should be in a position where you've scaled that credit balance up. And moving forward, you can use those cash advances to also help you scale wealth because you take those cash advances and you use them to purchase assets. I'm not talking about houses. I'm not talking about cars. I'm talking about assets, Bitcoin, stocks, tangible assets, and do that to scale out your wealth. that is where we're gonna end off the show today. We made it to 54 minutes. I think this was a really good one. I think that there were a lot of key insights that are going to add some value to the people starting out on their journey. This is definitely a good video. This is a good introductory video for the types of discussions that we're facilitating over here. It's going to be, I have a few more introductory videos that I will probably be able to hash out of this video as well. There won't be many because most of the conversations are pretty high level, pretty, you know, we're talking about where I'm at on my journey. And so it's more geared towards adults in that respect. But I'm going to start trying to slip in some stuff for the new people who are kind of wondering, like, well, what do I do if I'm starting out? We're going to start answering those questions. So tap in with me down in the comments. For those of you just starting out, definitely tap in. Let me know you stopped through. Let me know what you thought, what your thoughts are. Also, if you have questions, because we will make videos, shoot them to me. You can email me. You can drop them down in the comment section, and I will dedicate videos to the questions that I'm actually asked. I'm also going to start doing videos on questions that I'm asked in real life, like this one. This was actually facilitated on a question that I was asked in my real life. And it gave me something to think on, something to marinate on. And I figured if that's a question that I got asked in real life, it's a question that a lot of people have. So we went ahead and made the video. So tap in with me. Let me know if you guys got value from it. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Send your favorite guru over this way so they can put me up on the cross and we can have the conversation, because I'm built for it. I'm ready. And until next time, it's your boy, Reckless Ray De Niro. Thank you for tapping in so much. This platform wouldn't be what it is without the 10 of you that rock with me consistently. Also, tap in for Guns and Butter coming up this evening. Peace.